Well, to be coming here as a captain to one of the greatest cities there is in all of the world, and one of the greatest sporting capitals of the world, it's quite an honor. I'm excited to lead my team here and try and retain the cup.
You got out to Royal Melbourne Golf Club yesterday. Talk about that as a venue, and why do the best players in the world love
Yeah,
that?
one of the greatest golf courses in all of the world. The layout's fantastic. It's very tough. It's tricky. The fans here have been absolutely fantastic over the last two cups, and we're expecting a pretty excitable atmosphere, and one that's electric, and one that we're going to have a lot of fun in.
Could please raise your hands. We'll get a microphone to you for questions.
Hi, Tiger. I guess how many Australians do you reckon you could potentially be up against, given it's here at Royal Melbourne?
Well, right now we get Jason, Adam, Cam, Leash. So right there's four, and you just never know what could happen over the process of a course of an entire year. But you know, the Aussies have always dominated the international team, as well as the South Africans. Usually they make up at least half the team, and so I don't think that will be any different, you know, come next year.
Go here to Evan. Dave.
Tiger, your experience on the Sandbelt speaks for itself. You won the Australian Masters. How much is that experience going to come into the play if next year, if you are on the team?
Yeah, I think that the way the golf course is set up and the way it's played, it's very similar to what we face at an Open Championship. So I think that guys who play the Open Championship venues well are going to be successful here at Royal.
How much are you going to take it out on the internationals? Are you a bit angry with that loss in Paris? Is that going to internationals?
No, this is a totally different team, totally different players, and you know, we could have a different core of guys. You know, obviously we have a lot of guys in their 20s that have made the last couple teams, but you just never know. You know, I think that we're gonna, each individual cup, each individual team has their own uniqueness and their own character, and that's what's fun about being a part of these teams. That you're building relationships that you never thought you would have, and relationships that last a lifetime.
Here.
Tiger, what about the build-up? The Australian Open's on beforehand, but you've got your tournament in the Bahamas as well. What do you expect some of the Americans to do in the build-up to the President's Cup? Well,
I hope they play at the Hero World Challenge. You know, that's an obvious one. But we'll see what happens. You know, that's we have to figure out some logistical things between now and then. That's one of the reasons why I'm here, to try and figure that out. We got a few meetings here scheduled later today, and try and get a better plan going forward so that we can get the best field we can at the Hero, as well as getting everyone here, you know, from the Bahamas to this tournament, get them rested, get them prepared, and get them ready to play and compete.
We'll go here, and then Martin.
Tiger, you've changed a bit as a player since your last visit to Melbourne in 2011. Will you take the same approach to Royal Melbourne next year?
You know, my responsibilities are very different. Being a captain, when I came down here last time, I was just a player. Now I'm responsible for 12 guys. Well, hopefully 11, because hopefully I'll be playing. And so, trying to get my team ready, to get them prepared, get them rested, so they can go up against a tough international team. That's part of my responsibility, along with my vice captains.
Martin?
Tiger, do you have your head around how you would handle the dual roles if you're captain and a player? If that comes to that?
Little bit. I got a little bit of experience this past year at the Ryder Cup. Jim asked me early in the year, in February, whether I would be interested in being part of the team, and I said yes, I would. I'd be a vice captain. I'd be honored to be a vice captain. And that evolved into being a part of the team, and he felt that my role would be better. It would be better for me to be focused on playing. And so, yeah, I had a lot of prep about being a vice captain and being a player, and I was part of a lot of those conversations about who should be part of the team, all the group texts that we were trying to figure out. Now, fast forward to next year, I'll be a captain, so I'm going to have to defer to a lot of information to my vice captains and get a lot of their opinions, and also my team, whether or not I can play and do both roles.
Right here.
What does it mean to you? You've achieved so much in your career, but to captain this team, what does it mean to you?
It's special. You know, I've been a part of the President's Cup for 20 years, and now to have the opportunity to be a captain and to lead my guys into an environment that's going to be fun, it's going to be exciting, it's going to be electric, and on top of that, on one of the best venues in all of the world. So there's really nothing better as a player to evolve into the role of being a captain.
Tiger, just on an individual basis, given where you've been from physically, is anything you achieve now in your career a bonus, or the fact last year you got back to winning, contending in majors, that you feel like you'd be disappointed if you didn't add another major championship?
You know, if you would have asked me that question at last year's President's Cup, I wasn't cleared to make full swings yet. And so, yeah, a lot of the things I've gone through this year, it's been a true blessing because I was, you know, in bad shape for a couple of years, and my back wasn't very good, and my life was tough to deal with the nerve pain. So now to have that opportunity to go just behind me, I'm playing, I'm competing, now being a captain, it's been truly a blessing.
Go here to Evan.
Tiger, mentally, what did last year's President's Cup do for you?
Well, mentally, it gave me a shot in the arm. You know, the guys really, they really encouraged me to come back and play. They were offering whatever dinner or practice rounds or practice. I'll fly down here. Let's just, you know, get me part of, you know, being part of the game of golf again. That's why I don't know. I don't know if I can do it or not. Give me a couple more months, and lo and behold, a couple more months, I'm playing and competing again.
What role would you say that played in your comeback?
It did. It played a significant role. You know, the guys were very supportive of, you know, and they were the text messages and the calls I got this entire year, well, last year, you know, through the President's Cup was very uplifting.
Tiger, will you? Will
yes.
you pick yourself, or do you just automatically qualify? If you get, is it a ranking thing, or will you?
No, I mean, I'm part of the team either way. Okay, so after the Tour Championship, we'll have our top 8 guys, and hopefully I'll be part of the top 8. If not, then myself and my vice captains are going to have to figure out, as well as the other top 8 players, who are the next 4 guys that will be best served to be part of this team. To come down here and compete and play against internationals. So I don't know if I'll be a part of that conversation in either way as a player, but as a captain, yeah, I'll be a part of it.
Tiger, when Ernie was here, he announced Jeff Ogilvy as one of his assistants. You know, he has such great local knowledge. Do you have anyone in mind for that sort of role who really knows the Sandbelt course as well?
I have a few names that we've been kicking around and trying to figure out what's best. I have really nothing to announce at this time, but I will shortly, though.
Here.
Tiger, just in regards to that question about captaincy and playing as well, the competitor in you, you know, it comes down to it. The competitor, will you just not want to be out there playing? Will you be out? Of course I do.
Of course I do. I want to compete. I want to play. Being a vice captain the last couple of years, you realize there really isn't. You really don't control, you know, the play. You know, you have to sit back and watch. And as a player, as a competitor, you want to always be in control and be able to compete and play. And there was no better example of that when Ernie and I went into a playoff. Be able to have that opportunity. I probably would have had a heart attack if I had to sit there and watch another player go into a playoff and control the cup. But I was a part of that, and that's something I'll truly remember.
Only once have the United States lost the internationals at 98 here at Royal Melbourne. I mean, is that in the back of your mind first time as captain?
Of course it is, yes. I mean, because when we came down here, Jack was our captain, and it was late in the year in December. We didn't have the wraparound schedule like we do now. The guys took quite a bit of time off, and quite frankly, we weren't prepared to play, and we got smoked. The internationals came out ready, prepared, played, and they drummed us. My job is to make sure that the guys are prepared. They're still playing and trying to stay fresh and competitive, late in the year.
You beat Greg Norman in singles though that year, right?
I did.
I just wanted to make sure they all.
That was fun.
Yeah, I want to make sure they all heard that. Right here.
A nice little local sledge there leads us in beautifully, Tiger. We obviously had Ernie here last week, and he said that the sledging had already begun between the two teams. Who's better?
Of course we are. We have a great group of guys that love to get the needle, and we've had a core group of guys for the last few cups, and so they've gotten to know each other. And the group text that we're on, it's a lot of fun.
Here in the front,
Tiger. Ernie told me that he would pick Joaquin Niemann in his team. So can you give me a word about this young player, Chilean player, 19 years old?
Yeah, Joaquin, we gave him an exemption into my event, the national, last year, and he's one of the most talented young players there is. He's explosive, he's fiery, and more importantly, he's a beautiful putter, and I think that'll serve him well.
Any advice for his career?
Yeah, just keep doing what he's doing. He's going to win events, and he's going to be a player that's going to be on the world stage for a long time.
Right here, Martin. We'll go Martin first, and then we'll get to you. Yep.
You mentioned 98. Is it true that you put your hand up to play against Norman in the team room night before?
Yeah, it was. I wanted to play against him. Jack and Peter had talked about, what kind of pairings that would be great for the tournament. We were getting blown out, and so that was one of the key matchups that I felt like I could handle, I could play, and I felt like I could earn a point for our U.S. side.
And secondly, what are you thinking about preparation? You've already said that you want a lot of your players to play in the Bahamas, but would you encourage those who might not get into that field, because it's a limited field, obviously, would you encourage them to come and play in Australia just to
I would encourage them to stay competitive late in the year. That's what we learned in '98, is that the guys weren't competitive. They had shut it down. And so hopefully they'll play my event in the Bahamas, but if not, stay competitive, stay prepared, stay sharp. There's a long season, there's the wraparound schedule, and then, within a few weeks, we start up in Hawaii again. So trying to get the guys to stay sharp when it's their break time is going to be the challenge.
In the blue? Yep, go ahead.
Ernie was here a couple of weeks ago talking about how he hopes that, or expects that, the crowd will be predominantly following the international side down here.
Of course they will, and as he should be.
Are you prepared for that? I mean, that would make a difference to often the Ryder Cup events in America and what have you, the atmosphere being less boisterous for your side.
They should be less boisterous for our side. They should be rooting for their national teams. The last two cups we've had here have been so exciting. The atmosphere has been so the Aussies have come out and they've supported the event, but more than anything, they've been so respectful. Yes, absolutely. Are they going to cheer when their team does well and we don't make a putt? Of course. But at the end of the day, this is some of the greatest sports fans in all of the world, and they show out and they're so respectful of all the players.
Here.
Tiger, you had an incredible year. You played, I think it was the second most amount of tournaments since 2006, so a busy schedule. President's Cup at the end of next year. Is next year a crazy schedule like this year, or do you tone it down a bit?
I certainly won't play as many times as I did last year, or last season. I played a lot of events. I had qualified for a couple of events. I missed a cut in LA. I added Tampa. I qualified for the Akron event, and so it's kind of just played out. And at the beginning of the year, if you'd asked me what I had gotten through all the playoff events, well, I didn't know if I was going to qualify for the playoff events. So that was something that was I hadn't really trained for and planned for, and you saw at the end of the year I was pretty worn out. So trying to pace myself next year and do a better job of that with the entire 12 months. Hopefully I've learned my lessons this year.
Can I ask just one more question? One of your highlights from this year, would it be walking towards the 18th at Eastlake with all
Without
those
a doubt,
people?
Yeah. That was one of the most special moments I've had as a player in my entire career. I've said this this entire year that the atmosphere has been so different. It's been so appreciative and electric, and I have felt that. The fans have been so much more into my rounds. Maybe they realize that I may never have played again, but I've come back and I've started playing again, and they've come out and supported the events that I've played. But they've been so great and so into it, and I think that was the culmination of all this anxiety and all this anxiousness about my comeback, and to have it all culminate with a win at Eastlake in my last competitive stroke play championship. Didn't get much sweeter.
And is that why you're giving a little bit more of yourself? I mean, we wouldn't normally see Tiger Woods do so many interviews and meet so many fans and host so many dinners. Is that part of being thankful for this comeback?
Yeah, it is. I'm certainly more appreciative of the game of golf and what has meant to me and what it has allowed me and given me the opportunity to do. 20 years ago, it was a totally different deal. I was trying to just play and compete and beat everyone. Now I'm appreciative of having the opportunity to come back and play again. I'm just so thankful to be part of the game of golf as a competitor again.
Tiger, Melbourne does like to think of itself as the sporting capital of the world. How big a turnout and atmosphere are you expecting in a year's time?
Well, there will probably 40, 50,000 people on an old traditional golf course. Hopefully the weather will be better than it was in 11. It was not so damn hot or so cold like it was on Saturday, and that has a lot to do with the amount of turnout. If we get great weather like we are experiencing right now, 40, 50,000 people out there will be fantastic.
Here and then Evan.
Tiger, just on your own goals for next year, do you set the bar a bit higher given what you achieved this year?
Yeah, because I didn't know what I was going to do this year. I didn't know if I was going to make it to the Florida Swing. I didn't know if I was going to play, how many majors I was going to play, and that was all just fluid and trying to figure that out and on the fly. Well, next year is a different thing. I understand what my body can and can't do. I have a better understanding of how to train, and my swing has evolved throughout the year, and so has my equipment. So everything has gotten better throughout the year, and towards the end of the season, I started playing some of my best golf.
Evan?
Tiger, just back on the schedule, do you anticipate starting 2019 maybe a bit earlier than Torrey Pines, somewhere like Kapalua, where it does allow you that chance to space out the season?
I like where you're trying to go. I haven't quite formalized my plans yet.
Is it appealing?
But I will let you know.
Here. Tiger, obviously you do have a really busy schedule. Is there any time in the future that you could see yourself playing in Australia as an individual?
Yes, I would love to come back in here and play. And this is some of the greatest golf there is, and some of the greatest fans. I've enjoyed coming down here since my first time in '96, and I've just enjoyed it every single time I've come down.
Tiger, you mentioned there's a core of the U.S. team with Dustin and Jordan and Ricky and those players. Who are some of the young, up-and-coming names that perhaps the fans in Australia haven't heard that you've had your eye on? A Cameron Champ? Or
Cam is one of the guys that he's just electric at how far he hits it. I haven't seen it in person. I want to see it. Jordan, got a chance to play with him in Las Vegas this year, and he said he got outdriven by 97 yards, or 95 yards, I think, on one of the holes. And so that's something that it's a different generation of guys that are coming through. They're younger, they're fitter, they're stronger, they're more explosive, and Cam's leading the way in that.
And how about on the international side, some of the players that maybe we haven't seen on the international team that you've witnessed out there?
Well, Ha Tong Lee's up there. Cameron Smith is now making his way up there. And there are a number of guys that are young and are now starting to understand how to play the game, and it's just a matter of time before they start making these teams on a regular basis. They're winning golf tournaments around the world, if not major championships.
Here.
Tiger, you've played under some massive names. You mentioned Nicholas before. What kind of captain do you hope to be?
Well, one that leads our team to a victory. one that the guys will have a lot of fun and respect, and one that hopefully I'll create an environment where it'll be a moment and a week that they'll remember for the rest of their lives.
All right, we've got a lot of fans here, Tiger. Just tell them to come to the tournament, right? We don't want them all to buy a ticket.
Come on out.
Yeah. All right.
Please.
Well, thank you for your
cheer
time.
for us, too.
Thank you for your time. Just a reminder, there will be transcripts of today's press conference available. We'll get those emailed out to you. There's a great ticket offer right now for Christmas for any of the fans who are out there. Go to presidentscup.com. There's Captain's Clubs tickets available, so take a look. But more than anything, it's been a great couple of days with you in Melbourne. Thank you for your time. We look forward to seeing you back here in 2019.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for having
guys.
me.